Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the Materia Medica session. And today we're going to learn a very short acting remedy in our Materia Medica. In fact, its action is only one day. It has been, as it has been mentioned by Gibson Miller in his remedy relationship, and it's too acute, and that is Campora. Campora is a part and parcel of our life. Specifically, we used to use it in our religious occasions. Many times we used to use the camphor. But generally in practice, it is a remedy which is not so utilized or overlooked. Or sometimes another thing is that the cases are now much less rare, which we used to find it out such types of cases. But still, it is a very good remedy for specifically the action on GI system. It is a wonderful remedy. Then also the upper respiratory tract infections, it is a wonderful remedy. So we're going to learn this short remedy from the Allen's notes. Before going to the Allen's notes, I will share two cases in my practice. One case was at the start of my practice, very early. It was 1990, 91, when I was in final year BHMS. And I came to Sangamner for some reason. And I have seen a patient over there. My father went somewhere outside and I was there. And a patient was brought who was having acute gastroenteritis. And this has started just 2 3 hours before. At that time in 1990, I have seen that 1985 to 90, there were epidemics of cholera used to happen. 90, it was the last phase of cholera epidemics. But before that, I have seen the cholera epidemics used to happen over there. And this was looking like an acute state of a gastroenteritis, like a cholera. He had a very severe vomiting 2 3 times, very severe diarrhea, and immediately with the 2 or 3 diarrheas and 2 3 vomitings, he got so much frustrated. I have just I was going through at that time through the remedies of the cholera. I was lucky enough that I was going through that and I have seen the case over there. So there was a tremendous weakness, tremendous frustration when I see the pulse was absolutely weak. It is feeble. He was having a severe rigor at the start of that. But that fellow was brought to our hospital and people trying to put cover on him and he used to throw it away. And when we see his body was absolutely looking like cold, no heat, no vital heat over there. When I seen his breath just keeping head over there, the breath was cold. So it was acute shock, state of acute shock was there. Coldness of body was there. Then one important future which I have just read at that time that the different to differentiate between the camphor, the veratrum album. These are the most common remedy. Third is arsenic album, but in veratrum and camphor comes very close to each other because both of them have the severe rigor, severe frustration with cholera-like symptoms. But in veratrum, the diarrhea is so profuse, which is not there with the Campora. That is first important thing I was knowing. Second important thing was that nose is pointed and very cold. That is another feature of the Campora, which I have read at that time. And third was breath was cold, pulse very weak, throwing of covering like a meadowrinum, like a sickle cord, even though the body is cold to touch, they never keeps the covering. So it was looking like sickle also. But one important feature which was there that his tongue was it was trembling, very typical. So whole totality was in favor of the Campora and veratrum. But Camphora was more marked because in veratrum, one important feature is there. There is always a cold perspiration on forehead. It is the characteristic of veratrum album. There is always a prostration on forehead that happens to be there with the veratrum. With nearly all complaints, it is there. There is one more remedy which is comes closer in such types of cases is tobacco. But tabacum whole body perspires. That is more important. The difference between tabacum and the veratrum is that veratrum there is sweating on forehead. In tabacum there is perspiration all over the body. These are things. Otherwise, both all three remedies are remedies for the cholera-like symptoms. So that was the first time I have decided to give the Campora. I have kept many medicines with me since I was in the final year. I have having many medicines. I have kept Campora 30 and I have utilized Campora 30 immediately. I put a drop of Campora 30 in his mouth. I was just observing. I put him on IV line and I was just observing. After one dose of Campora 30, there was no further vomiting. Vomiting stopped. He had the motions, but vomiting was completely stopped. Second important thing, after some time, after an hour or two, I have kept the drip very slow because he was already in cold state. So it was just a electrolyte which was put. And I have given the Campora one dose and thereafter, after every attack of the diarrhea, I have repeated it 2, 3 times. And there were no more diarrheas after that. After 2, 3 hours, his body was got a hot, normal temperature. Till that period, it was absolutely cold. So that was a shock condition in an acute state, very acute state. Campora is the remedy to be think of. So it was wonderful to utilize Campora at that time. That was very early in my practice. I have utilized the Campora. And once I have treated, it was in 1996-97. When one patient, one child was brought to me, 4 years child was there. There was sudden change of weather, such type of weather as the at present, the shifting from cold to hot stage, and there were many cases of measles were going on. This child was brought to me having a lot of coryza, but stuffed nose, blocked nose, with lot of sneezing. And one important thing was that there was persistent bleeding from the nose after that. So it was very important. Second important thing, when I was observing that child, he was having a typical goose flesh. Then I touched his body. The coldness of the body was very marked. Skin was very cold. It was just faintly appeared coplic spots inside the mouth. It was looking like a change, looking like a measles case. So I have decided to think about the camphora in such cases because where the rash never appears and still body is cold to touch, but a coryza with blocked nose, with epistaxis goes in favor of the camphora. Change of weather. It is a acute remedy to be utilized in such types of cases. But when nose is blocked and there is a epistaxis, you must think about this remedy. So I have given the Camphora again in same potency, 30 potency. It is a remedy which acts in low potency. It works beautifully because already it has its direct action. Even you don't, you get the vapors of camphor. So it is a remedy which is not needed even to go for 200 many times. So I have given Camphora 30 few doses. Asked the child to bring tomorrow because I was little bit worried about measles and presentation of measles and fever also. But there was no fever. Next day, child was brought and child was having just a little bit nasal discharge, but child slept whole night properly. So I have not repeated. I have kept him on placebo and I was just observing the another day and child settled within another day. So these were two important cases where I have learned the Campora, and Campora is a remedy which is having such an acute action, acute phase. So let us open your book, the Alinsky Notes, and open the Campora, a remedy proved by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann himself. It is Camphora lauroceraceae. This is one first important sentence is very, very, very important symptom, very important characteristic. But I have not seen, very occasionally I have seen these symptoms, but pain better while thinking about it. Generally, opposite of it is quite common. Opposite of it, it's many times I have observed in practice that thinking of the complaints aggravates and Elonius and oxalic acid and calcarea phos. These are the remedies which you know. But complaints better while thinking about it is exactly opposite and characteristic. It becomes characteristic. Aggravated is it's you can logically think it's this can happen, but just thinking about the complaints, it feels patient feels better, pain feels better. The camphor and hellebores, these are the only two remedies which we can think about. Persons physically and mentally weak and irritable. So these are persons, they are physically weak as well as mentally weak. They are quite irritable, quite sensitive, reacting very fast, exceedingly sensitive to cold air, like heparsal, like silicea, like calimiraticum, like sorinum. This is one more remedy where you get tremendous sensitivity to the cold air. Tremendous sensitivity. And that's why change of weather generally affects them first, producing coryza with obstruction of nose, with its continuous persistent obstruction. This is a wonderful remedy to be think of in such types of cases. Bad effects of shock from injury. So bad effects from shock from injury. So injury producing a shock, acute state, Campora. Surface of the body is cold, face is pale, blue lips, livid, profound prostration, given in bold and it has meaning. The short aggravation can cause patient directly into the profound prostration, a shock state. Shock is very common with the Campora. Shock might be vasovagal. Shock might be because of little bit just gastroenteritis. Shock may be because of injury. But in an acute state, this remedy, if there is a coldness of body, the breath is cold, first think of the Campora in such types of cases. Surface is cold to touch, it cannot bear to be covered. Throws off all covering, like Meadowrhinum and Sickle. This is very important. They never crease the clothes. That's the thing which you have to perceive and watch in cases. Patient is having tremendous chilliness on the body, the coldness over there, and still they never keeps the covering. That is very important. This is what you have to understand from me. The entire body painfully sensitive to slightest touch. If there is a pain, they never allows you to touch. The sensitivity to the pain is very, very marked with the camphor. The tongue is again cold, it is flabby and trembling tongue. This is very important. The flabbiness is the not so characteristic, but trembling is the characteristic and coldness is the characteristic. Sudden attacks of vomiting and diarrhea. See, nose is cold and pointed, given in italics. Anxious and restless. That's why it comes closer to the arsenic also. But here the coldness of the body, coldness of the breath, coldness of the nose, that is very important. Skin and breath cold, veratrum and atropine. I have explained that veratrum is close, but veratrum, the persistent sweating on the forehead, cold sweating, that is also cold sweating, which is very characteristic about this remedy. So one must know all those things, the minute differences between the veratrum, the camphor, and um, the tobacco. You must get those. That these are very essential things, and one must know that in if you are considering of the tobacco, there is and over the entire body, you get that coldness, perspiration. In veratrum, it is only on forehead. In case of camphora, sweating is not there, but body is very cold. In the first stages of cholera morbus and Asiatic cholera. See, very important. First stage, early phase, immediate, Asiatic cholera, cholera morbus, where severe long-lasting chill is present, close to the veratrum. In both remedies, the chill is marked. It is like intermittent fever, gastroenteritis with fever. But fever stage is not marked. Chill stage is more marked. Arsenic, it goes to the toxicity of fever. Chill followed by the fever. Great coldness of the surface with sudden complete prostration of vital force. Often a remedy in congestive chill. Pernicious intermittent fever, that is veratrum again. The pulse is weak. The pulse is externally small and scarcely perceptible. Three things important. Whenever the shock state is there, where pulse is scarcely perceptible, it is weak, it is feeble, associated with coldness of the body, associated with coldness of breath, associated with trembling tongue, associated with nose pointed and cold. The Campora is there. Camphor, you should not forget with these characteristics associated with it. See, the next feature which he mentions is having a meaning. Measles and scarlatina when eruptions does not appear. Measles is there, but eruptions are not yet appeared. Scarlet fever is there, but eruptions are not yet appeared, or they are very, very minor. They are not so strong. Measles and scarlatina with pale and cold blue Hippocratic face, child will not be covered like CK. Here again, the child never likes to a covering. They throws it away, even though the body is cold to touch. This modality is very, very characteristic of camphor, where you can differentiate it from the variety. All sequelae of measles. Very important. Measles rash is suppressed and can enter into the complications. Think about this. Measles can lead towards the testicular problems. Measles can lead to the breast or mammary gland problems. Measles can, if suppressed, can enter into the brain, producing subserosal panencephalitis. So all sequelae of the measles, you must think about the camphora as an acute remedy if it has been indicated. So these are the sentences one must know. In pulsatilla, it is not measles, it is mumps, sequelae to the mumps. That is the pulsatilla, sequelae to the breast and mammy and the testes. That is when mentioned in Allen's keynotes regarding the pulsatilla. So that is there, the mumps directly enters into the testes and breast, producing a complications over there. Relationship, camphor antidotes nearly every vegetable medicine. So important. There are two, three common antidotes to the homeopathic medicines. One of them is tobacco. Second important means tobacco. Second important is the camphor, which is again a common antidote for all things. And third is coffee. So camphor antidotes nearly every vegetable medicine. Also the tobacco, fruits containing prussic acid, poisonous mushrooms, should not be allowed in sick rooms in its crude form. So camphor should not be allowed in the sick rooms in its crude form because it antidotes all its actions. Compare the carbovage, opium, veratrum, and CK. These are very close remedies. Carbovage is the state of circulatory failure, again a shock state, but desire for craving, these are not, it is craving for fan, air, that is very marked, air hunger, which is the word which you can think. Opium is associated with the drowsy state. Veratrum already discussed, sickle already discussed. Amelioration, general modalities. When thinking of the existing complaint, this is the rather uh, characteristic modality. Amelioration from warm air, drinking cold water. Then antidotes. Antidotes Cantheris, Dalcamara, opium, phosphorus, nitrate, spirituous.
Sir, no voice.
Hello, not getting the voice. Just a minute. Hello. Are you getting it now?
What?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Now,
Now we are getting.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, sir. It's normal.
Antidote. Antidote to the Camphora. It is Cantharis, Dulcamara, opium, phosphorus, nitri spirituous, dulcis. These are the remedies which antidotes the Camphora. The inimical remedies after Kali nitricum, you should not give the Camphora that has been mentioned over there. Complementary to the Camphora is Cantharis. Very important remedy relationship. Complementary to the Camphora is Cantharis. And action of Campora only one day, single day action. So this is the remedy from vegetable kingdom, very important acutely acting remedy, generally used to be in acute practice, not as a remedy, chronic remedy. But this remedy Hahnemann have used even for prevention of cholera epidemics as a genus epidemicus many times. Even Shankaran sir have used this Campora during this COVID epidemic. This is a remedy which has typical characteristics with which it is possible to recollect the remedy. So, be familiar. My suggestion to all of you is go through the Borix Mater Medica. You will learn more aspects about the Camphora over there so that it becomes fixed in your mind. So, we'll finish today's session. If any query is there, we'll have a discussion. Otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow with the next remedy.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Sir, I have a question about another remedy. I have a patient who is having extreme fear of death. Even while walking, he thinks that I will fall and I must be die. Nothing more than that. And I want to give him all this is happening since 5 to 6 months, I think. And so I want to give him Aconite. So which should be dose, sir? 30 or
No, my
200?
first important question is that whether there is an aconite state. Aconite state is there, patient is in
Huh.
panic. Patient comes to
Huh.
you and doctor, save me, I'm dying, please do urgent. This is the state of aconite.
Okay, sir.
Aconite, the
It is
person
not there.
who fears the dead but doesn't show this turmoil is not an aconite. It is from
Okay, sir.
5 to 6 months, it is chronic. So
Yes, sir.
fear of death is chronic over here. So it is
Yeah.
unless and until the state of aconite is there, it is not aconite fear of death.
Okay, sir.
Aconite will not going to work in this case because aconite will work only in that aconite state. Here you have to
Yes, sir.
find it out a remedy on the basis of rest of the features of the patient. Because see,
Uh,
if the patient is having it since 5 to 6 months, it is not an acute state.
okay.
So you must think about it that what may be the possible chronic remedy. Aconite is also having a 1 day action. It will not going to cure that patient.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Vishali madam, can we take homemade curd? Is it good? Yes, why not? If if you don't have diabetes and if you don't have obesity, you can.
hello,
Definitely.
sir.
Hmm.
Sir, how you differentiate between cholera, nosode, and camphora?
Cholera,
Nosode.
I don't have any experience with cholera nodules. I have not used. The remedies
Okay.
which are well proved, I used to use. I have not having any experience of using the cholera nodule. And basically, what has happened that there are very rare cases now cholera. I was lucky enough that I have seen the epidemics of cholera way back early in my practice or while learning the homeopathy. But now it has been rare since antibiotic came up. The cholera epidemic has nearly decreased.
Okay,
Coffee
sir.
really antidote our remedy action. Yes, sure. Definitely. Coffee, even in crude form, coffee, you take a cup of coffee and it antidotes the action. It happens to be there. Okay, anything
Yes,
else?
sir.
So that's all for today. We'll meet tomorrow again. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.